they were going to lose their shirt. And as evidence have shown, I don't think Toyota is losing their shirt.
If loss of revenue worried car companies, then the electric car posed another problem altogether. It had no internal combustion engine, the cornerstone of the auto industry.
These parts represent a large part of a dealership's income through the replacement and the maintenance.
Essentially, this group of parts is a visual representation of the profits that the auto industry doesn't make when they sell an EV1 or an EV in general. I can actually identify a lot of these that didn't get used on the EV1 program. You know, oil filters you need 4 times a year. That was probably the most prominent thing, along with the several quarts of oil every time.
I didn't enjoy working on internal combustion engines just due to the fact you got so dirty. And working on EV1, I'd basically go home looking like this. Servicing the EV1 was pretty simple. It came in about every 5,000 miles. We'd put it in here. We'd rotate the tires, add washer fluid to it, and send it back out on the street. It's amazing. Look how dirty I've gotten just in handling this stuff. That's kind of sad.
In order to sincerely market a clean car, you have to suggest that your core product is dirty, and that it uses oil, and that it uses gas, and that it increases our dependence on foreign oil, and here's this product that doesn't.
It looks very schizophrenic, but I think when it started, we can show the people in California we can meet the zero emission requirements. And later on, so do we want to show them that we can meet it? That means all of our other cars.
But the more it caught on, the more that there was this dichotomy between clean and efficient and non-polluting versus a suburban.
Car companies had convinced themselves that they could not make money in the short term with the electric car. In order to do that, they would need an entirely different vehicle.
General Motors made a commitment to the Hummer because they could see the Hummer would make them money.
When the SUVs first came out, people were like, I can't drive that.
That big old thing?
That's a tank.
I can't see out of that.
I'm going to murder somebody in that. That's too big.
Big for me.
But they convinced people, this is safer. You need a big car.
You need this for your family.
The idea of a penny-pinching EV1 that was super green, you know, that didn't get a lot of traction, whereas the idea of a gigantic SUV that would, you know, crush your neighbor, that did get a lot of traction. Basically, that tells us what the 90s was about.
What began as a $25,000 tax break grew to $100,000 when Congress passed the President's economic stimulus package last spring.
We think small businesses need to have support at this time to keep them afloat, to keep the economy moving ahead.
But there's an encouragement for the small business person, not just to stay afloat, but to go buy the biggest gas guzzler there is. The 6,000-pound car, the biggest. Does that make sense?
I don't think we can dictate what vehicles people buy. I think the goal here
is encouraging them. I mean, you can almost buy the whole car for the tax break.
Well, I'm not going to concede that that would be the way these would be used, or that...
Well, there's some evidence that is how they're being used.
Well, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what happens.
I don't want to see Hummers driven off the market by the government. I want to see everything given a level equal chance. The thing that bothers me is that in fact it's not a level equal chance. We're using our military to ensure the flow of oil. We're using tax dollars to support the car companies in different ways, and we're not using our tax money to do the things that we really need to do to prepare for the future.
Federal policy has always had tremendous power to shape the future. As it gave enormous incentives to buy SUVs, the federal government also sued California to stop the electric car. Some pointed to the influence of the oil and auto industries.
They control things in Washington. They and the automobile industry. Now they've got Andy Card there former lobbyists right there as chief of staff in the White House. And I guess they don't have to pay lobbyists anymore, so they're saving a little money there.
Andrew Card was chief of staff when the Bush administration joined the suit against California. Card had also been president and CEO of the American Automobile Manufacturers Association during its campaign to kill California's electric car mandate.
Industries began to see, if we don't kill this cancer in California, it's going to spread to the rest of the country. And I think it became a strategy on the part of many companies to make it a national issue. I was even told once by a very prominent congressman, who I shall not mention by name, that I can understand and tolerate what you're doing in California, but if you ever try to spread your California program to the rest of my country, I'm going to have to do battle with you.
Sometimes I listen to the energy debate, and I think I'm watching an old movie that was made back in the 70s, because the discussion is exactly the same as it was 30 years ago.
Our average vehicle, average car on the road is less efficient than it was 20 years ago. And this is just a complete abdication of leadership, political leadership, really, because it's impossible to get fuel economy standards passed through the U.S. Congress.
After the OPEC oil embargo in the 1970s, the U.S. government created corporate average fuel economy, or CAFE standards, to improve fuel economy in American vehicles. As a result, in less than 10 years, fuel economy increased by more than 50%. Unfortunately, 2 decades later, there has been virtually no change.
Jimmy Carter was the last president that really made energy a high priority, and he devoted his first 90 days in office to putting together an energy plan. I was there as part of it, and no president since then has put that kind of effort into it.
I am tonight setting a clear goal for the energy policy of the United States. Beginning this moment, this nation will never use more foreign oil than we did in 1977. Never.
There was just a radical change when Ronald Reagan came in and took down the solar panels off the White House roof that Jimmy had put up and essentially declared war on the sun.
I put a freeze on pending regulations and set up a task force under Vice President Bush to review regulations with an eye toward getting rid of as many as possible. I have decontrolled oil, which should result in more domestic production and less dependence on foreign oil.
When Reagan came in, he was not a supporter of fuel economy, of conservation, of renewables. And in the mid-1980s, he basically stopped any improvements in fuel economy standards for cars. And then in 1985, the price of oil collapsed.
I would not lay all of the blame at Ronald Reagan's feet by any means. I think he had his share of responsibility, but so did the Saudis, who made the very calculating decision to drop the price of oil dramatically, principally to ensure that none of these alternative fuels and energy-saving measures really produced the desired results. So they kept the junkie hooked up, in other words. And as a result, we are today still addicted to oil.
When Clinton came in, and I worked for Clinton, we were definitely quite interested in trying to come up with alternatives and improve the fuel economy of the fleet. Politically, it was still very unattractive. The automobile lobby was quite powerful then, so the administration kind of made a bargain with the automobile companies, this partnership for a new generation of vehicles, where we would develop hybrid vehicles, a combination of a gasoline engine and an electric drivetrain. In return, we wouldn't really pursue fuel economy standards.
I never met a 5-year-old kid like this in my life, and when I shook hands with him, he said, "I'm glad to meet you, Mr. President. I want you to make a car that runs on electricity and doesn't pollute the air." So I was so impressed, I went to get Al Gore, and I introduced him to this 5-year-old boy, and he said, "Hello, Mr. Vice President. I intend to spend my life working on this," and he said, "I am going to help you develop an electric car that has no pollution." And Al Gore says, "That means we're going to be partners." He said, "Yes, I guess so, but you don't understand. I'm going to spend my whole life on this."
For 8-9 years, we've spent about $1 billion of the tax